Last minute doing stuff. Let me see. All right. Getting stuff. Oh, I should tell Aidsy I'm here. Where are we? All right. Liam left a comment half an hour ago. Hello, if you're still there. Well, hello to Liam in the past. I am just going to send a massage to Aidsy. Tell him that we're here. All right. And I shall text the boy. All right. I'm going to have a ginger ale. Just arranging my desk in a convenient way. Honestly, if you could see my setup, you'd realise it's a bit grandiose to call it a desk, quite honestly. But ginger ale. Just for something different. I gotta go to the office tomorrow, which is stupid as hell. Arbitrary and stupid. And I'm getting more annoyed as the day goes on, and I really think about, they're really making me go back to the office for no good reason. Just for the sake of appearance, basically. Fuck it. Oh yeah, orange oils. Like orange oils. Just gotta wait for another freaking massive COVID outbreak. Hey Liam, oh look, today's topic. I mean, anything and everything. Well, not anything. There's some things that I have no interest in talking about, but I did notice I thought it was interesting when I was looking up, did anything interesting happen on this day? And in different years, it was the first broadcast of Thomas the Tank Engine, the first staging of Phantom of the Opera, and the first broadcast of Fox News. There's some interesting, weird firsts. Oh, what's with my hair? Yes, Bernie, the famous series voiced by Ringo Starr. Thomas had seen everything. Although I don't always use one of those on this day things as a name for a stream. It's usually quite interesting, at least to me, to look up like what historical events happened on this date. All right, I don't think Aidsy's joining us. He might, but that message made it suggest that he's in the middle of something. He doesn't know when it's going to end. I mean, often when Aidsy thinks everything is important, he's going to be here in 5 minutes. It's an hour till he gets here. So if he's actually going, there's something happening that's holding him up. If I were a gambling man, I would gamble on that, meaning he's not going to join us. But who knows? Who knows? Anything can happen. And you get your free peeing ASMR. You know, some people pay a lot of money on OnlyFans for that sort of thing. Weird, sick people, but they're out there. There is your chilled water. All right, musical aviator. Yes, well, they're all equally fictional, I think. Thomas the Fox News and Opera. Ah, there you go. Yesterday was International Lesbian Day. I don't think I saw that when I was looking stuff up, but you know. Well, many generations of people. Well, actually, I suppose many is an exaggeration, but multiple generations have enjoyed the Thomas the Tank Engine TV show. I always thought it was funny the station master was called the Fat Controller, and he kind of looked like the Monopoly Man. I just thought was, geez, is that an anti-capitalism dig? He's like your fat corporate controller. I don't think that is canon, but it's how I always felt. Character called the Fat Controller. And yeah, he's looking like some oil baron. So I always assumed it was a anti-capitalism dig. Speaking of anti-capitalism, it's the anniversary of Che Guevara getting shot, and he got a bit too big for his boots after his exciting inroads in Cuba. He thought he'd go do the same thing in Bolivia, and he got caught, arrested, and executed. So, ugh. Dr. Abigail, World of Thomas the Tank Engine. Oh, yeah, actually, there are several episodes of the Thomas the Tank Engine TV show that if you think about what's going on in it, they're like, it's fucked. There are some, actually, it might be fun. Do a Google search. Okay. Most messed up Thomas the Tank Engine episodes. I want to see if someone's catalogued. There's a video called 10 Darkest Tom and Episode. Was this one Thomas the Tank Engine's most disturbing episode? Oh, Jesus, fuck you. Fucking websites that hijack your browser if you've got an ad blocker on. So here's a Reddit list of scary Thomas the Tank Engine episodes. Ghost Train, Haunted Henry, Toby's. I see. It's just giving the names. It's not giving a description. I want a description of the freaky episodes. It was interesting, Liam, that Ringo never tried to do character voices, but he has a nice voice. Musical Aviator, the original story did have a dig at Sir Topham Hatt. Commanding passengers helped push poor Henry. Horrorbound, when Thomas was terrifying. Yes, everyone brings up one called Haunted Henry. So episode starts. Howl calls in the wind. Edward warns Henry of mist making it hard to see. And there's the legend of a ghost. Henry dismisses the legend. Once he departs, music's out of a dark horror film. All right, so the ghost is real. Henry comes across a red lamp nailed to a tree in the fog. Lamp is freshly lit, means danger ahead. They proceed with caution, while the Henry now knows that audience knows Henry is A, in danger, and B, not alone. Press on, more signs warning them of danger. Scene climaxes when they find a coat hanging on a tree branch and a light moving within a nearby building. Once the characters notice and exclaim they are not alone, the lights turn off in that very building. Scene ends with the train leaving the area. It cuts to the next day. So there was danger ahead in the form of a broken track, but they don't know who warned them. Henry's waiting at the station. He's nervous. It's like calm nature. However, in a shocking act of cruelty from the writers, there's a jump scare in the scene when an express train thunders by, scaring Henry and rattling the audience out of their comfort zone. Now it's established Henry's on edge as well as the audience. They begin their second journey. So, same red lamp. See something legitimately creepy. We see the crossing gates close on their own and the crossing lights do as well. Builds up the fact there's more serious this trip. Music helps. See another shot of the old building. However, unlike last time with simple moving light, not much else, we see a clear silhouette of a man standing in a window watching Henry and his train go by. Danger music is happening. Very neat shot. We see Henry's trains fly into a pit. It's a cool destruction sequence. Here the episode's creepiness is gone as the conclusion of the show shows the mysterious ghost was just an old fogman who's trying to warn the engine of the danger ahead. Episode ends with everyone singing Fogman's praises, getting the station he always wanted. Okay. Anyway, it's weird. Episode train keeps derailing itself in defiance, so they turn them into a generator. Except, yes, isn't there one? Is that the one that gets bricked up? Yes, and again, thinking, feeling trains who are enslaved essentially. It's weird. Very, very unsettling stuff. The degree to which they decide it's okay to punish and in fact torture this thinking, feeling entity. Yeah, but it's kind of I love the jokes everyone makes about Cars, the Pixar films, Cars. Because they're extremely silly and not meant to be thought about very much. But if you do think about them at all, they're very fucking weird and messed up. Some of the concepts in it are just like, God damn. Oh, okay. So Dr. Abigail, that's not the one that gets bricked up. As to watch the other trains go by as it sits there being a generator. Jesus. Yes, that is a pretty cruel thing. Just okay. Now I want a list, maybe a better list. Weirdest things about Pixar Cars. This one's compiled. Okay. 10 wildest things about the Cars universe. Cars get gassy. Cars drink champagne. Brake-like pitches exist. Cryptids are part of the Cars world. Monster truck rallies are fucked up in this world. Ivy talks about the toll being a monster truck took on her, how she was expected to smash cars. So that's like murder, essentially. When cars get emptied, they die. Death exists in the Cars universe. There's a car Grim Reaper. There are car ghosts. There were car dinosaurs. And Meta comes from a rich family. Okay, that's not very weird. In fact, I'm sure someone's got okay, yeah, Looper. 10 things you notice about cars as an adult. There's a lot of adult humor. Lightning McQueen's a famous race car. He's got the groupies to prove it. Oh, right. 2 red cars named Mia and Tia proclaim they're his biggest fans and flash him with their headlights. So joke about fans flashing. Yeah, that's right. Sally had like a pinstriping tattoo above her bumper. So it was like a car's equivalent of a tramp stamp, which is weird. All right. Yes. Races are glorified track and field events. Of course they are. Races are brutally violent. Well, that's pretty obvious. Oh, yeah. The Pizza Planet truck is in there. The truck who hauls lightning around. Yeah, that's a bit weird because is lightning going in the truck's butt? Does it take place in an alternate universe? There's probably sex in the world of cars. Well, there's attraction between cars. A lot of adult products on offer. The top-down truck stop boasts of convertible waitresses. Yeah, that's a bit weird. Oh, Dr. Abigail, for me to see that, you'd have to sort of put it in a private message, a private chat, because it doesn't let me click on it or copy it or anything like that. Some characters are named after what kind of car they are. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Real reason Paul Newman's character doesn't like Lightning McQueen. All right, that's supposed to be a reference to Paul Newman and Steve McQueen not particularly liking each other. Cars is a remake of Doc Hollywood. Yeah, it basically is. A lot of Richard Petty references. All right, that's less. Ah, you sent it on Discord. Thank you. I'll open that. All right. Okay. Yes. Where are we? I will just share it. This is the image that Dr. Abigail says haunts the thing. Yes, the poor little bugger, he's just locked in there, watches the trains go by, and he is forever trapped. And that is messed up. That is some messed up psychological torture. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Who the hootin' heck knows? Yeah. Oh, side note, did Dr. Abigail, did AZ contact you? I did talk to him today, and he was going to come on here, but now I think he's not going to. But I guess I'm saying, if you haven't heard from him, maybe expect to hear from him. Oh, neat, Liam, we've got Thomas collection. Videos, DVDs, books. Nice. Well, yeah, so I guess like Smudger's not being executed, but that's kind of like that old punishment of being in the public stocks, like being locked up in the town square out in the open for people to ridicule and abuse you, and also as an example to anyone who would dare step out of line. So yeah, putting Smudger right next to the tracks is clearly a threat to the other tank engines. Really interesting. My orange peel's super fizzing on the ginger ale, as you do. So, like this is the only one of my shirts. I'm gonna keep the top that's got a thing right at the top. It's the ultimate cocktail. I don't want to have that done up though, but it's the only one that has something right up here. There you go. See, I actually don't know the difference, but I think Smudger is a narrow gauge engine. Sorry, I was just remembering the Thomas the Tank Engine action scene in the first Ant-Man movie. I found that to be quite humorous. Probably in terms of the comic book movies, I probably prefer the ones that don't take themselves too seriously. And I think the first Ant-Man in particular had a lot of very funny stuff in it. But yes, for pure weirdness, the shrunk down guys fighting on Thomas the Tank Engine was pretty weird. All right, don't have your top button done up. Someone short in front of you covering up the tail. I am actually not sure what you... Oh, right. Sorry. Right. So if someone is of a height that their head's here, right, I'm then wearing something proclaiming the ultimate cock. I'm a little bit slow, but I got there in the end. Actually, speaking about Ant-Man, one of the weird things about it that they just kept things fast-paced enough that people aren't really going to question, I think, but it breaks its own rules repeatedly. Like one point they state to Scott when he's shrunk down, he has the same mass as when he's human-sized, and they use that a couple times because like he smashes things even when he's tiny. But then there's other things like he runs along someone's gun and the person's still holding the gun. Like if an 80-kilogram man lands on your gun, you are no longer holding your gun up. You go, it's good. So it's weird. They just from scene to scene change their internal rules, which is pretty lazy, quite honestly. But yeah, they just keep things fast-paced enough that they hope no one notices or no one cares. And I have to admit I was probably in the camp. I don't really care. It's just silly. It's a very silly movie. Even though the comic book movies are implicitly silly, Ant-Man doubly so. In a way I quite appreciate. Just catching up on some shows today. We're up to the final ever episodes of The Walking Dead. And I watched the first of the new episodes. And I got quite into it, I have to say. And I was kind of surprised when the episode ends because I was so into it. I think I was treating it in my head like a movie. So I expected the story to be resolved. And, it's only the first of the last batch of episodes. Yes, Dr. Abigail, The Walking Dead is still on. But won't be for much longer. Much as the comic stopped, and they're finishing with the same basic story the comic finished with. There's lots of important structural differences in there, but it's the same basic one. These people have set up what they call the Commonwealth, and they're basically fascists. It's run by someone who was from a powerful political family before the zombie apocalypse. And they've just basically set up this really fascist society. So we've got to see what happens. If it all goes tits up, if our heroes save the day, who dies? Because someone will die. Probably Daryl, actually. In the comic, Rick dies in that storyline. In the TV show, because the guy who plays Rick wanted to leave. So he was on a bridge that blew up several seasons ago, which is, they could add a stretch, bring him back, but it would be a stretch and be pretty intelligence insulting that he could suddenly pop up years later. Liam, what do I think about Thomas CG? That is not something I think about. That is not something I have an opinion on. Don't know that I've even seen it. But yes, shockingly, I know in this day and age, and I'm it's about to sound like I'm ragging on other people. People have to share their opinions on everything. And I'm very guilty of that. But I don't have an opinion on absolutely everything. So it may be shocking to learn. Speaking of shocking to learn, I didn't even notice. But look, there's Aidsy.
How you going there, good folk?
How you
Can you
doing,
hear me
buddy?
just fine?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Do you remember when we were at the universities?
Yars.
Well, you were at college. I was at university.
Yars.
You know,
Well, I'm entered in the alumnus of the university. But,
Yeah, no, I graduated from a university. You graduated from a college.
That's
Um,
true.
I fucking wanted to graduate from a college because the uni meant fucking nothing to anyone when I graduated.
Yeah.
But the college actually had a reputation. Anyway, at that college, there were two lecturers in particular that
Yeah.
had very different styles. One of them
Mhm.
was Australian and would punch blackboards when he got angry. You know who I'm
Cody.
talking about.
Yeah.
And that would get our attention pretty quickly. The
Yeah.
other one was American in nature and would get angry and say, "I'm not angry, I'm excited about the opportunity this affords." Do you remember that? How he would
Yeah, he
say
was a
that?
redheads. Redheads. He watches the stream sometimes. So
Right.
redheads are
And
like that.
and let me tell you, I'm not angry, I'm excited for what
Ah,
I just had to do.
yes, you did have
I would
something
have
happening.
joined the stream on time tonight,
Mm,
except I got a message saying that the washing equipment didn't work. And
right.
the thing is, myself and the landlord um, spent a day fixing these fucking things,
Yeah.
and they did work. We know they work, and
Right.
I went in there and found out that the very clear signs with pictures on them were
With
not
pictures.
being with pictures on them were not being followed.
Right.
And I went, how are you at university, and
Yeah.
how B did you get into the country without knowing the language of the university that you have paid to be at? And you're so angry at losing $2. It's $4 for the whole thing. But she didn't want to pay the $4, so she put $2 in and got differing amounts of time because the computer inside the coin box got confused and
Right.
wanted to know why she was getting different amounts of time. And I was just going, "Oh, you're the one fucking up the actual machine every time we have to fix it. It's
Right.
you. It's actually you doing
It's
this. I have
it's you.
found the fuckwit that is doing
Uh,
the damage to this fucking machine, which is fine. The machine is fine. It works fine until you fuck it up." And I just thought, I'm going to have to ring the landlord again in a day or two because someone else is going to say, "I put the $4 in there." Just gave me a weird message, and I'm going, "Oh, kill me." And he's going to come out and cry, and I'm going to cry, and we're going to go down to this individual's place and, invade her house.
yeah.
Yeah, I once mopped the floor
Yeah.
because a girl had a car and she had to put antifreeze in, and
Yes.
she had half a tub of glycol, glycerin, um,
Right.
in her hand, and she was bringing it home because she had half a tub, and she would like leave it in her place and use it
Yeah.
later. And because it's kind of slippery, she dropped it in the
Oof.
hallway, and that
Yeah.
happens, right? I wasn't
Shit
really.
happens.
Shit happens, and she did the right thing. She came and got me and said, "I fucked up so bad. I've done this thing." And we went down straight away, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to have to mop it up." The thing is, glycol antifreeze is actually very sticky, and
Right.
when you mop it up, it stays there on the ground for quite
Yeah.
some time, invisible. It
Yeah.
just looks
Oh,
like
and slippery, I imagine.
a waxen sheen. And
Yeah.
so I put the big, yellow slippery when wet sign, slippery when wet
Mm,
sign. Then I put
yeah.
chain in like
Yeah.
at nose height
Yeah.
on both sides of this, going really, really slippery floor.
Yeah.
Try and go the other way around if you can.
Yeah.
And then I stood there while it dried enough for me to go and hit it again with the mop.
Yeah.
And somebody came home, was looking at their phone, looked up at the chain, pushed the chain over and just wandered straight through, slipped over and
Yeah.
said, "Oh, what the fuck was that about?" I'm going, "I want to kill and kill and kill again
Yeah.
until the red mist goes away." And I just
Yeah.
thought, how did you miss that? Because there's, like I said, big sign,
Yeah.
death
But
slip.
I've seen people do that. I've seen people physically push aside the warning and then continue on. I
I
watch them and it's like, what was that?
I watched a woman in the mall, no, a guy in the mall,
Yeah.
pick up a just mopped wet, yellow
Yeah.
sign and move it. And the young daughter of this guy, this elderly, said, "What did you do?" It's, "Oh, these people have to get through."
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
here, they don't. And she's like gone and grabbed the sign and put it back and said, "No, not here. They've got to go around, but they've got to get through." Okay. Hey, how's it going, mate? My name is Liam. I am pleased and honoured
And then he
to make the
asked,
claim.
is he a mate? No, no, he's my mortal enemy, but I allow him on streams. Uh, we
Yeah.
we we went to uni together way back in prehistoric times. We were studying advanced fire starting. They gave us
But
2 sticks.
the fucking dinosaurs were a pain in the
Yeah,
ass, right? They had
yeah.
feathers
Particularly the
and
Stegosaurus, with that pointy bit.
we had pointy bit, and the fucking lecturers used to say, "Go and get fucking stego feathers and fucking make a headdress, or you fucking fail the unit." And go, "Well, fuck you, you go and get a fucking, burn a pointy end on a stick and go and get a fucking dinosaur, you fucking lecturer prick." And they did, and made us look foolish. And I felt a bit of a goose. It was a while ago.
It was a little while ago.
It was a while ago.
A little while ago.
In the 1980s. There was such a
Yeah.
time. There was
All our
such a
lecturers
time.
are dead. Actually,
Um,
no. Jerry's not.
one of them's alive, but unfortunately his wife unfortunately passed
Yeah,
away,
very
which
suddenly. That was.
was freakish actually because she was healthy and
Yeah,
fine, and then she just,
shit
as natural
happens.
course, she just died.
Mm.
Pretty young too, and it was like, what the fuck? Everyone was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the universe
Actually,
just does this shit.
the weirdest thing that happened in that frame was an old girlfriend of mine died. We found out what happened. She had a 4-year-old kid. She was cooking dinner for the 4-year-old kid, and the next thing that happened is her ex-girlfriend was coming to get some stuff, and she used her key, and the fire alarm was going. There was a steak burning on the stove, and there's a kid screaming in the high chair, and she was just sitting on the ground with the steak flipper in her hand. And she went, "What's going on?" What had happened was her aorta had split open, and she bled to death before she hit the ground.
Yeah, bodies will just do wild fucking shit.
And I was talking to her big sister about the memorial because they made me do the MC. Thanks, because I was the guy that does MCs for this stuff, which always hurts me really hard, but I have to do it because it's me. And I was trying to get hold of the big sister to organise this thing, and I rang a friend and said, "Fuck, can I get her number? Because I just can't get hold of her." And he says, "Oh, you don't know? Don't know what? She's died as well. She died a week after my ex-girlfriend died." And I went,
Jesus.
you really? Fucking
Yeah.
what?" And he went, "Yeah, she died of exactly the same thing." Then
Like that
3 months
hereditary thing.
later, their father
Yeah.
died of exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And what it turned out to be was they think it had something to do with Agent Orange because he was a psychologist. He was actually both in Vietnam, and he was fucking. He used to come home with stories of like being in the camps, and they would spray Agent Orange over the fucking camps that the soldiers were in.
Yes,
And
they were a bit casual with it.
They complained about it. The Australians complained about it and said, "Can you not fucking do that? Because it A, ruins our cover, and B, it's really toxic." And the water trucks that used to bring the Agent Orange to the sprayers would bring water to the troops in the afternoon, and they were going, "Can you also not do that?"
Drinking pesticide.
And for the longest time, the government tried to say, no, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. It's all right. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine. And then eventually it just, science caught up and said, no, they're not going to be fine. They're all going to fucking have problems, and you're going to have to pay a lot of money to deal with it. And they did it quietly, and everybody shut up about it.
It's a whole thing. The
whole thing, and it, what was bizarre was it did actually affect the children of these vets.
Oh yeah,
which I didn't know, and it affected this guy's daughters, and it like a fucking time clock. It was like, now it's going to happen now, and it's like, what?
There are certain things you can have in your body, and you might live to a ripe old age and never realize it. And like some of the shit they discover when someone, because if you die in a hospital, they normally do an examination and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And the shit they find in people sometimes, and they're like, how is this person not dead 20 years ago?
How is this person not dead? They find shit like bullets lodged in heart muscle.
Yeah,
and they go,
but things like thin artery or vein walls, where the medical people look at it and go, "My God, if they fucking bumped that, it would have burst.
It would have exploded." Yeah, it would have.
How do you live a whole life without that happening?
Einstein. They of course fucking wanted to have a look at his brain. He had an aneurysm deep in his brain that, if it had popped, would have killed him. And he did have high blood pressure when he was older, but it never actually went off. He died of a heart attack, I think, at the ripe old age.
Yeah, and we all have cancer-causing cells in our body as well. Like I think one study was something like your body's defenses, on average, kill a cancerous cell once a day. And sometimes they don't. And there's a whole bunch of reasons
sometimes why they don't.
But also sometimes they don't, but the person's health doesn't suffer drastically. And, they die at a ripe old age, and there's an examination, and they'll go, this person's got cancer from one end of their body to the fucking other. How were they hale and hearty up to the time of what? Bodies are weird, man.
A good mate of mine was just distraught because his mum died of bowel cancer, and his mum was not a complainer, and she was starting to complain of pain. And she went to the doctor and said, I've got pain, and I've got blood in my stool. And they went, we better check that out. And they did, and they said, there's nothing in there. There's nothing there. And they checked it out 3 times and said, there's fucking nothing there, okay? So can you not fucking complain? And then a blood test came back, and it came back with massive cancer indicators. And they went, something's fucking not right. And they gave her a CAT scan, and she had a fucking massive tumor growing outside of her bowel. It wasn't on the inside where they normally are. It was on the outside.
It wasn't showing up in the tests. Yeah.
So every time they gave her a colonoscopy, they couldn't find shit.
They didn't see it. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, poor Yusuf. They couldn't find this tumor, but it was massive. Apparently, it was a huge. And my grandfather died in '96. Got drunk on his 90th. Had cancer of chicks nuts. The body.
That's what sometimes when older people die,
Yeah.
they do an examination and just go, "Well, this motherfucker's cancer from one end to the other. What's that about?"
What's this about? How did they make it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And and other people just get knocked in the neck, or they get a tap on the back of the head and they're gone. Mate of mine in uni said he was out, and it wasn't his friends, it was a group of friends, and they were obviously drunk and having a party and having fun.
Yeah.
And they were out in the middle of Sydney near, is it called Martin Place? What's the...
Yeah, that pedestrian mall in Sydney's Martin Place.
Yeah. Anyway, there's those green bollards they have in Sydney. And one of these guys was fucking around and jumping on the bollards and jumping from one foot to the other foot on the bollard. And he missed, fell over, hit his head, obviously smashed it, and there was blood everywhere. And he was clearly dead. It was, and his mates were just gathered around going, what the... And they got on phones going, and of course the ambulance and cops turned up, and it was like, that's it.
Yeah, no, that would be very difficult to process, that you're just walking down the street and then the guy next to you is dead. That would be
that'd be fucked up. It'd be totally fucked up. You could just and the thing is, my mate who saw it said he himself was like, what the fuck am I watching? Because they weren't being obnoxious drunk guys. They were just being loud and party, and maybe doing stupid things, but not they weren't
not the worst. Not the worst.
They weren't being obnoxious to anyone else. They were just playing. Yeah. And this guy just had an accident, and just the angle that he hit was hard enough to smash his head open, and it was an awful thing to watch, because my mate said there was blood just pooled straight away. It was obvious that he had lost so much blood, and he had brain damage, and he was gone. And I can't imagine that. I saw a guy get hit by a car today on a bike.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the car was just not a good thing. Thankfully, the car was parking. And what had happened, because boss of the house is an avid bike rider.
Yeah.
And I never freak out when he rides in traffic ever. That doesn't bother me at all.
I think you're being sarcastic there.
I really am. I mean, I love the guy, and I would never stop him doing his passion, right? And I trust him, right? And fuck, if he wanted to be a skydiver or a fucking SAS fucking soldier, I'd go, love you, honey. Do what you got to do. But I'd still be at home going, come home.
Yeah, he's doing dangerous things.
Come home. Anyway, so he was on his bike, and this car comes into park, and what we had pieced together was the car had passed the bike rider, and either forgotten that he passed the bike rider, or you just don't think about what's behind you when you're driving. And then he's moved into park, gone across the bike lane, and the bike's gone slap straight into this car that's parking, and just the mirrors come off. He's high-sided the bike. He's got all the protective gear on. Fuck. His stuff's gone everywhere, and he's shaken, but he's fine, because thankfully it was all slow speed.
It was mostly down to the speed of the bike.
Yeah. And it was just it was disturbing for me to watch, because
Yeah, I bet.
The boss of the house comes home with stories all the time about,
Of near
oh,
misses.
I missed an open door again today. And I go, fucking please don't tell me this shit.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, and because of that, I ride right on the line of the bike lane. And I
Yeah.
go, oh, that's also something I don't want to fucking hear, because that means you're right next to the moving cars that are going very fast.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's safer to go next to the moving cars that are going very fast than it is to go
Oh, to worry about car doors.
near
Look,
car doors.
they're both bad. They have the chops. Have you seen my barrels before?
No.
I need to taste something. I've got a cocktail in here. I'm barrel aging it. It's been in there 2 weeks. So I'm just going to have a little taste. See if I think it's ready, if it's appropriately aged.
I should make you a whiskey thief.
A what?
A whiskey thief, so that you can test your barrels. Okay, a whiskey thief is a tube, right, that has a conical end down the bottom, and
Yeah, it's how they test the stuff in barrels.
thumb stop, and then you stick it
Yeah.
down the lung.
Yeah.
You put your thumb over it, and then you take it out, and then you pour it into a glass or
Yeah.
tankard or whatever, and you test how the barrel's going after 50 years.
I've got taps on mine.
I don't know about this barrel.
So the barrel aged one's a different color now.
It is
redder.
It's redder.
Anyway, all right. So because I saved some not barrel aged so I could compare and see how much it's changed. So
how long?
Sorry, it's been in there 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that is a really good Sazerac. Yum. And now I should be professional. I should have a drink of water, rinse my palate.
You should rinse your palate. I was going to say, are you going to rinse your palate? Because that's what I was going to say.
Sazerac has a little bit of absinthe in it, so I had very strong licorice taste in my mouth then.
Mm-hmm.
So the barrel aged one. Oh my god, that tastes good. Oh my god, that's a really good drink. And yeah, still the licorice comes on late. So how are you doing?
Well, I have seen better days.
Seems like a bigger question than a question I might have thought.
I'm quite ill right now.
Yes.
And I've unfortunately things were picking up, and now they're going backwards again, and that has got myself and my health professional team worried. Myself mostly.
Yeah, you're worried. Okay, yeah.
And I've got to tomorrow actually. Fuck hell. I've got to get up at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Right.
And prepare myself to be at my doctor's at 10 to 9.
Okay.
And talk to these individuals. And I've got to get badly growing skin and dead skin scraped off me with a metal thing that looks like a boomerang, or a header knife, and it hurts a lot.
Doesn't sound good.
And unfortunately, because of my past as a I call my community the Jonquois. or the opioid enriched. Um, um, I'm not allowed to have any painkillers at all, and they won't even give me a local anaesthetic, which I think is bullshit. And
That's a
so
bit harsh, yes.
I have just gone, are you kidding me? And they're going, no, I'm not allowed to give you anything. And so they do the scrape, and I'm just going, no, song of pain. And yeah, I don't know I don't know how it's gonna
Not looking
go.
forward to it is what you're saying.
I'm not looking forward to it. But the other thing too is that the stuff that I've got to buy that works, that makes it slightly better, costs me $850 every time I buy a load of it, and I have to set up for 3 weeks prior, and then 2 weeks to get it bought, and then to buy it, and then it has to be shipped in from Canberra because the local people, it's the same company, but the local people sell it for 15% more than the Canberra people. So I get my dear old mum to buy it, and I pay her immediately, and then she posts it to me. And we don't use overnight post because it comes on the same fucking day as regular post. Um, and my post office just ignores the fact that they don't deliver overnight post overnight. And I say to them, this was supposed to be here yesterday. Well,
Right.
it's here now. No, it was supposed to be here yesterday, and you're supposed to guarantee that. See how it says guaranteed
Guaranteed.
um, on the fucking packet.
It says it on the wrapper.
And they just fucking snuff their heads and go whatever. And I've a couple of times go, oh, it's excellent. I'll take my free bag now. What? I'll take
Oh
my
yeah,
free bag.
that's what they say. Yeah.
I'll take my free bag now. Oh no, we don't. We don't have those. And I say, no, no, you do. Because every time it doesn't come on time, I get a free bag, so I'll have it now. And I did that last time, and the manager came out and said, we don't have any. So I said, oh, okay, go up one. Give me a free box.
Yeah.
And he's gone, yeah, no, I don't think we can do that. And I said, oh, you can. And he was like, yeah, no, I don't think we should. And when he said, I don't think we should, I went, okay, stop hassling the guy and walk away. But I've told my folks, don't do overnight anymore. Fuck it, it's useless. Just fucking post it. It'll get here when it gets here. But anyway, yeah, it costs a fortune, and I've been basically doing this for a year. Not this new U-Butte bandaging stuff, but I've been having this problem for a year, and it got really, really bad. At one point, there was no skin on my legs from my knees to my ankles, and I was having dogs come up sniffing me, and their owners were going, oh, he likes you. And I'm going, no, he likes the free meat that he thinks he's about to fucking get. Because it's obviously going off, which is awesome because it's free. And but there's a bit there that's not off. He can get like good meat under it. And I had one little dog actually take a bite, right? Thankfully, their owner just yanked them back and said, I'm so sorry. And I'm going, it's, it is what it is. And they ran away because if a dog bites a human, it gets shot. It gets the green needle. And they just ran away very quickly. Like, come dog, we're going the fuck away from this person who could effectively have you killed. But that's the only dog that's ever actually had a bite. But a lot of dogs have gone. if I paid you money, like if I paid you money, do you think we could, work something out?
See, young Liam, we were at uni at the same time in the late 80s. So
Yeah.
that long.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. That's a lot of years, isn't it? So
It is. It's
it's
several.
two.
It's several years.
It's 2 plus 10 plus 10
Yeah,
plus
so 30.
3. Yeah, it's 30.
Yeah.
Shit.
No, I know. Yeah. That's the way it goes. Then we didn't see each other for 10 years, and then 20 years. I don't know. But then you saw
15.
me,
It was 15. It was 15 years.
and then yeah, like 15 years ago, you saw me in the line of a comedy festival show because you were directing a show that was next door to the one I was going to see.
That's right.
And then we caught up at some point, and I explained the whole YouTube thing to you, and
And I
we've
headed over to that.
been collaborating on the YouTube thing for more than 10 years.
Fucking years and years and years. Which was great, actually.
Yeah.
Worked out well.
About 12 years, I think, but been doing the YouTube thing.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it for 16 years. But yeah, I'd already been doing. What are you eating? It looks like a tomato sauce sandwich. What are you eating?
It's tomato sauce and cheese.
Oh, classy.
I'm not an animal.
It's like a pizza sandwich.
It's like a pizza sandwich, but not touched by people from foreign lands.
Yes.
We
don't want that.
It's a
none of that foreign muck.
It's a white supremacist pizza sandwich.
Yeah. So what's that line? There was an old movie with Robert Duvall called The Great Santini, where he's a really obnoxious, quite abusive dad, and his wife's serving up, I think it's linguine, and he's just like, "What the hell is this anyway? Why are we eating ini?" Because of course, you get linguine and tortellini and fettuccine and whatnot, and he just goes on this whole rant about we're eating too much goddamn ini food.
We're eating too much,
buddy. It's a whole thing.
I had to explain to somebody the other day how what happens in Australia is we get a wave of people from a country for a reason.
Yes.
Okay. They come over because there's been a war. They come over because the economic situation's just collapsed. They come over because there's a skill set we need. They come over because they helped us in a war and we lost. And if they stayed there, they'd be shot. And I said, but what happens is they disappear, right? It takes 3 generations, but they disappear. And he said, I don't know what you mean. I said, well, there's no more Italians anymore. They're gone.
Well, I mean, the Italians would probably argue with you on that thing.
The thing is, their children are still here, right? And they've still got Italian names, and Nonna and Papa are still Italian, but not for long.
Well, because that was post World War II, the
exactly
Italian and other Central European migration. So the original migrants, they're all dead,
right? They're all gone, and so their children are all Strine-speaking Australians. Most of them don't speak the old language at all. A few do. A few Greeks still speak Greek, but most of them don't. The Greeks are the next to go. The biggest Greek population in the world outside Athens is in Melbourne, right? That's a real thing. Okay.
Yes, that was. I think that was first famously noted, like back in the 70s or something. So, Liam remembers our Harry Potter videos are you really scared of spiders? Because the giant spiders in the forest, really don't like spiders,
Really don't
especially
like
not giant ones.
big ones. Can fuck right off. And there was this guy I used to do a comedy show with, and he would go, "Oh, this movie about spiders is great." And I went, "No, it's not great.
It's not-
It's fucking not great because there were huge fucking spiders." And he said, "No, but they're big. You can kill them with guns." And I'm going, "That doesn't help. That's not making anything better, right? You can kill them with guns." And it's like, for fuck's sake, if I saw something like that coming around the fucking corner, I'd shit myself.
yeah,
I wouldn't shoot it. I'd just die.
yeah.
The first shot would be for me. Um, and
There's like Doctor Who has had, alien spiders more than once, different mutations. One of
that
the
was
things that always fascinated me as a kid, the one with John Pertwee, Planet of the Spiders, the BBC Radiophonic Workshop, they rejected the first design. Like someone built them this spider. Look, it looks exactly like a spider. Yeah, we can't use that. And why not? Because it looks exactly like a
Like a
spider.
fucking
It's
spider.
real.
And people will
We will get
freak
in
out.
so much trouble if it looks like a real spider. So they redesigned them into something that is obviously fake, and still looked like a spider, but obviously looked like a Halloween decoration rather than a real spider. And they still got all these letters of complaint into the BBC. I'm an arachnophobe. How dare you? Like I'm fucking, piss my pants on the giant spider.
It was the only Doctor Who that I couldn't watch, was the Planet of the Spiders. And I never saw John Pertwee turn into what's his name?
Tom Baker.
Tom Baker. Yeah, I never saw that. Because the big spider bit him.
The giant spider. Yes, he got radiation poisoning. He got spider radiation poisoning.
And managed to get back to the TARDIS. They always somehow managed to get back to the TARDIS to change.
Yeah.
Clever.
If you had watched it, the bit that probably would have really terrified you, it was a very good scene. The giant spider with the crystals used mind control powers to literally control the Doctor and make him walk around and round. And you get this big scary voice going, "What is that, Doctor? Is that fear? Are you scared? You are very wise to be scared of me." So I'm just thinking, if you're an arachnophobe, giant spider controlling your brain, and just like,
no, bad. So yeah, I didn't watch that one. I watched all the other ones. Especially the Tom Baker ones, especially with Romana in them. She was my first crush.
which Romana, the original one or the one he actually married?
No, the good-looking one that is now Professor. What's his?
The tall one.
No, the good-looking one. The one that stayed in the middle of the universe when he went back to proper space.
Well, she regenerated, and then
yeah.
So if you think, okay, well, we're saying the pretty one. I think that very much depends on personal tastes.
Okay.
Okay. But he married the second one, Lalla Ward. Tom Baker actually married Lalla Ward.
And then they split up, and then she married the biologist who goes
Richard Dawkins. Dr. Abigail saying yes.
Richard Dawkins. Yeah, they're married, and yeah, that's right. And I thought, Richard Dawkins, smooth dude, smooth. Married Lalla Ward and Hassel's Church people, and yeah, sometimes not fairly, but a lot of times fairly.
Dawkins is one of that crew who's just gone fucking stupid, just turned into a right-wing dickhead.
I think you're probably right. Actually, I think what's happened to him in all seriousness, is he's undergone so much hate pressure for so long
Yep.
that
Yep.
he's just snapped and gone, fuck is all. You
Yep.
can have it all back. And
Yeah.
gone, I have no tolerance for anything you
Yeah.
say or do. I have no respect for anything you say or do.
Yeah.
I have no respect for anything about you, and it becomes um, it becomes difficult to get anything sensible um, uh, out of any interplay he has between people, because it just turns into it's not Goddard's law. What's the famous internet law where
Godwin's law.
Godwin's law? Yeah, it turns into Godwin's law. Everything eventually evolves into a debate about Hitler. And yeah, it's a Godwin's law thing.
Yeah.
With him.
I think it's absolutely trauma. And because I think he was subjected
he
to
was
years
of
of psychological trauma.
massive
He
hate.
felt safe. He was getting he felt unsafe. He was getting constant death threats. He had to have private security wherever he went.
Yeah.
But he turned into an asshole. And I don't even mean against the religious people. He fell into that trap that so many men who are high achievers in one field fall into, that he thinks he knows everything about everything. And he regularly makes absolutely cretinous comments about gender and race and whatnot, which he has no qualifications
No
in.
business being involved in.
But he just turned into all that fucking new atheist crowd that seemed so hip and whatever 20 years ago, turned into arseholes. And with Dawkins, I definitely think it was trauma. It's not really an excuse. It's a reason, but it's not an excuse.
You get a few that stay sort of reasonable. There's a guy called Aaron Ra, and he actually is a pretty reasonable guy. He basically says, listen, you've got faith and belief, and that's fair enough, but you've got to read what you're doing here, and it doesn't all add up. So and his perspective is you can't be telling people what to do if the contradictions in what you're supposed to be doing are so obvious that this book was written by men over several hundred years,
and rewritten and rewritten,
edited, and he was in this wonderful conversation with a panel of people, and he said, and two of these people on the panel said, there was no Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ didn't exist. He was made up. And Aaron Ra said, no. He existed. He truly existed. He was a real man, and he did exist. And they said, well, what evidence have you got for that? And I said, well, the obvious fiction, the obvious fake that they put in of him being born in Bethlehem, it was obviously badly edited in. It was anachronistic for the rest of the passage that it was inside of. And basically what they had to do was they had to get this son of David to fit with the prophecies of the Messiah. Otherwise it wouldn't work. Right? So he had to be there. He had to be born in Bethlehem because that was where the Messiah was going to come from. And so they had to invent this bloody journey where he couldn't find an inn. And it's like, it's Jerusalem. You can find an inn. Trust me. Even today, you can find a fucking inn. And, all this stuff and all this mysticism happens, and he's magically there at a time when he shouldn't be there. And the writing style of the author changes completely. Then goes back to the author before he turns up, and he says, "Why would you have to make that forgery if he didn't exist? Why would you have to jam that in there if he
Okay,
wasn't?"
I'm going to get that. That is not evidence. That is piss weak rhetorical arguing, and I mean it's piss weak rhetorical arguing. I just someone saying it was a real person who existed. There is no evidence whatsoever of that. There is nothing. And when you're talking about a book that was rewritten, edited, and fabricated, using anything in that as the basis for your argument is nonsensical.
Well, this is it, and he was saying much the same thing about a lot of different things, and he was saying it's difficult to prove anything about anything in there because it all contradicts it all. And remember, and he said, and this is the thing that really got to me. He said, remember that the books that you're reading were a selection from a much larger selection done by the Catholic Church at the Diet of Worms. And you can read the Apocrypha. It's still there. You can read it all. And remember, this is a selection made by a group of people with a political agenda. It says if you look at the whole thing as a political agenda, that forgery makes sense. And that's what he was saying. If you look at it as a political agenda, not as a religious agenda, but as a political thing. This king that was supposed to be of the house of David was supposed to have had to have done this. And if he didn't do that, then he wasn't going to be the king. It was there's more better, man. You know,
I don't think you worry about it.
It's a long story, and a long. It's very curly.
Sorry, just Safa asking, was King Arthur real? Short answer, no. Slightly longer answer, there may have been a leader at some point who had a name like Arthur or Uther, but the story of the story of King Arthur, the Sword in the Stone, the Lady in the Lake, the Round Table are all complete fabrications.
Yeah, and they're all effectively they're all based on rituals that happened around succession of kings that were all jammed together. There was a tradition in Scotland where the new king had to grab the sword that was laid on the stone, but there were warriors around the stone with swords, and you had to get past them and grab the sword, and then you were the king. So if you could get past them, you're fine. And so taking the sword out of the stone makes you the king. Well, okay, you can see how that quickly becomes get the sword out of the stone.
Do you remember the TV series Arthur of the Britons? It was they were trying to. It was a 70s BBC show. I think it was aimed. I'm not sure if it was aimed at kids or adults. I don't remember, but it was trying to be like, a sort of gritty thing inspired by the King Arthur story. They had a thing with all the sort of factional warlords. They had a rule. It was like this huge boulder that had a sword under it, and they had a little folklore. If you can pull the sword out from under the stone, you can be king. And Arthur's saying to the others, it's a thing. No one's ever going to do it, are they? Like, try and move the rock. You can't, okay? And there's the biggest guy there, who I think was Brian Blessed, played the role.
Makes sense to me. It's about the right time.
Can you push it over? No, even though you're the biggest, strongest guy. And all the guys who sort of were like chieftains who kind of had a claim to leadership. They're all there, and Arthur's trying to say we should fight. I don't know. Maybe they were fighting the Normans. I don't know, but they thought they had a common enemy. And he said, "But we have a common enemy, and if we all do it," and he says to everyone, everyone, get on the rock and push together. He goes 1, 2, 3, push, and they roll the rock, and he lunges down and grabs the sword and goes, "See, here you go. I got the sword."
Yeah.
So I think he basically said, "No, I'm not," because Brian Blessed goes, "You cheated," and he's going like, "Well, yeah, I'm not actually saying I'm your king. I'm just trying to show you something that we can achieve something if we work together." But it was a fun little take on the sword in the stone thing.
Yeah.
And apparently Rupert Grint is scared of spiders, which I suppose they were all CG, so he didn't actually have to deal with giant spiders in those scenes. That's probably how he got the face going. They go, Rupert, pretend there's like an 8-foot spider running at your car. And Rupert goes, "I'd rather not, thank you." Yeah, use that, Rupert. That's a good terrified look. Remember
good
that.
Look, Rupert.
Yeah.
Do that, mate.
Yes.
He's doing a lot of theatre now. Is Rupert Grint? He
they're all doing whatever the fuck they want.
This is the point.
They made all the money from the Harry Potter
stuff. He said,
stuff.
"I
now they
don't want to do any TV.
Want.
I really don't want to do any more movies. I really just want to do theatre and have fun and do that."
Yeah.
And I think he will do another movie because he actually grew up to be quite hot. There's no fucking way that Daniel Radcliffe will be left alone to not do TV and movies. There's no fucking way that's going to happen on God's green earth. And of course, not CG.
So Alexander's saying the spiders were built, but okay. And I'm going to take about. I'm not saying they didn't have things on the set, which would have been Rupert's worst nightmare. I was more thinking the bit where they're driving away and all the spiders are chasing them. Those are CG spiders. They're not physical ones. I can imagine. And again, that would really help Rupert with the terrified look if the set builders had physically built creepy large spiders. Yeah. Aidsy got it.
Why?
Yeah, well, because they could.
Build these fucking things when you've got perfectly good CG. I am not going to sleep tonight, and I have to get up at 5. Why would you?
I got to get up early. You know what they've got me doing? Going back into the office, for fuck's sake. It's so arbitrary. It's just arbitrary. It's for the sake of appearance. They want us to go in like 3 days a week, and I'm just like, oh, fuck off. I'm going to find out what days everyone else is going into the office, and then I'm going to say, I'm going in on the days that you're not in.
You're not in.
So if you never see me, it's because I went in on the days that you weren't there.
Yeah. So because someone's got to man the phone. That doesn't ring.
Alexander, okay. We won't take Aidsy though. If you want to go and visit the giant spiders,
Alexander, we won't be taking Aidsy to the giant spider that they made.
Okay.
For
the
real.
Place we used to go when I was a kid.
They didn't have to make. They did not have to make those spiders.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Did you ever hear of a place that was out countryways, Coonabarabran? They had a tourist thing called Miniland.
Yes.
Yeah, we went there heaps when I was a kid because it was, I don't know, it was an hour or 2 drive from Dubbo. And there was this ridiculous thing like a big fiberglass T-Rex. And I mean big, it was like 2 stories high and then you put 20 cents in a thing and its little paws went, and its mouth went, and the speaker next to you went, raw, raw. And we thought that was very cool. And they had a couple of other dinosaur things. There's a whole park that you could go in and it constructed webs out of ropes above, and there was like a giant spider up in the trees.
Fuck off.
Yeah, you wouldn't have liked it. You wouldn't have liked it.
No, I wouldn't have liked it. Oh.
And yes, Arthur, Dubbo got flooded in the rains this week. which
Well,
happens
Dubbo
every now and then.
does
Actually,
get
never when
flooded.
I lived there. It got flooded before I was born, before they built the dam in Wellington. And I think it flooded once when I was at uni, actually.
I was amazed that they built the dam at Wellington because I was kind of amazed that they didn't pick what was going to happen next. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't
Like-
know what you mean.
Like upriver from Wellington, it was looking like it was going to flood. I just thought, why Wellington? Why not do the weir? Out at Lithgow, they've got the weirs.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you?
Well, it is also the reservoir water supply for the homes in the area. 2.5 times the size of Sydney Harbour when it's full.
Yeah.
Mind you, it was fun when we had the really big drought when I were a lad. And the water level just kept going down. And this has happened once or twice since then too, like getting below 20%. Yeah. And because there was little villages in the area, like when I went down, the ruins of the houses were exposed. Favorite one was a light plane that had gone missing with 4 people in it. And I'm not sure if they had assumed or if they'd assumed it had crashed in the dam, but this dam, when full, 2.5 times the size of Sydney Harbour and really fucking deep. So this plane crashed into the dam. And I actually don't remember if people knew it had crashed there or whatever, but when there was the drought and the water dropped 90%, this plane was uncovered, or at least it became visible. They thought, oh, look, someone was going over the dam and they saw the shape of the plane. And so police divers went down and sure enough, there were like 4 bodies in the plane. And they'd been there for decades. And bodies that are underwater for decades are really gnarly. They weren't skeletons. The skin had sort of mummified on them. And so they were these weird green scaly things.
Yep. Know what you're
Pretty
talking
creepy, apparently. They didn't actually release
no,
those photos to the general public because they're pretty creepy.
Know exactly what you're talking about. In fact,
yeah.
What happens to water on skin that is left there for a long time? Yeah. Gets pretty pretty different. Anyway.
I was surprised when I heard they weren't skeletons. Like the skin was somewhat preserved, and so they were creepy looking things. And
well, I mean,
at the bottom of the dam for decades.
They weren't at the sea. I mean, if they were at the sea, they'd be skeletons, right? Because there's fish and things and little plankton that love eating free meals from planes. And when you're in a freshwater dam, there's only freshwater fish, and they are very picky about what they eat. I know that sounds weird, but they're actually really picky about what they eat.
But also, these guys were in the sealed cabin. Fish couldn't get in.
And there's no man-eating plankton in a freshwater dam, and the insects that would eat a human, like flies, can't swim, and mosquitoes don't swim very well when they can fly, and when they can't fly, they've got their bums up in the air so they can breathe. So they're not coming, and there you go.
That's the central business district of Dubbo. I've never seen that. That's
pretty wet.
That has happened one other time in my lifetime. I think when we were at uni, it happened. I wasn't in Dubbo. I was either in Bathurst or Sydney when it happened. But this little bit here, that's the actual river, which is
Yeah.
normally contained, and
In
it's flooded right out
river-like
here.
river-like apertures.
Yeah.
Yes, it has, hasn't it? Yeah, I remember when Condobolin flooded once. Myself, a friend, and another person who was not a friend. Psychotic freak, in fact. Went out to Condo to this flood, and I thought we were going to help.
Mm.
But in fact, what we ended up doing was having a look, and
Right.
stopping in at his favourite 3 pubs to have a drink, and have a look at the people who were having trouble in the floods. And people were like trying to fill sandbags and trying to save property and lives and livestock. And he was just going around pointing out shit in town. And I asked him and my friend, "Are we going to help any of these people?" He says, "Oh, there's no need for that." And I've gone, "Well, why would you say that?" "Oh, well, my house is up on the hill. We're fine." And I'm going,
All right.
"Okay, that was a 3-hour drive to basically watch people suffer."
Yeah.
Okay, that makes me really think about you and your ways of being. Um, and when we got there and his mother welcomed us to his house, he was virtually abusive to her. And we, myself and my friend, were going, "What the fuck have we walked into?" It's like, this thing just turned into one of those Australian horror movies, and we were just
Wolf
going,
Creek type stuff. Yeah.
more like that one that who was the guy that played Mr. Smith in The Matrix? What's his name?
Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving did an Australian dystopian movie where he was a farmer. Silly white men will build their town on the floodplain. That has happened quite a bit.
Because it's good for farming. That's why they do it. It's fertile. There's a river nearby, and the floodplain's fertile, and so they start off with farming there. But it floods.
And then it floods. Ningen means long pond in the local language. No one asked them that.
I was looking at other pictures.
What
The dam
does
at
Ningen
Mudgee.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
dam at
go on.
Mudgee has overflowed for only the second time since it's existed. So it's yeah. It's a whole bunch of stuff
wet.
happening.
Fucking yeah. This guy was like, okay, yeah. Hugo Weaving was in this dystopian film where he was a farmer, but wasn't anymore, and he got involved in a bank robbery where he hooks up with this guy whose brother has left him there at the bank robbery, and Hugo Weaving takes him in because he wants his car back, because the bank robbers have stolen it to get away, and
Right.
he knows where the bank robbers are going to hole up, so he wants his car back. So he takes this guy on a journey, and basically asks very, very pertinent questions at a shop where there's virtually nothing to sell. He says, "I'll have a peas and I'll have this and I'll have that." And he gives them Australian dollars. And they said, "Oh, we only take US dollars." And he says, "Why? It's just fucking paper. It's just fucking paper. Just take it." And they won't. So he goes, "All right." And he goes a few doors down and says, "Can I buy a gun?" And this guy says, "Yeah, come to my trailer and buy a gun." And he goes and looks at his gun supply and says, "Oh, let me look at this one. Let me look at that one. I want to see the barrel." Shoots him, takes the guns, goes back to the shop and says, I'll have all of your stock, and then goes and has this 10-minute conversation with this woman who says, I'll put the gun down. That's rude. And he does. And it's just so fucked up. It was, yeah, I can't remember the exact name of the movie, but it was.
That doesn't sound even vaguely familiar to me. I've got no idea.
If I find it, I'll look on IMDb and find out the name of it, and I'll tell you.
I'm looking up lists of all Hugo Weaving's films.
Yeah.
Desperate Jones, Hacksaw Ridge. So, how old do you reckon this is?
I'm going to say 2000s, even, yeah, 40s, yeah.
Okay. Back then he's doing The Matrix, Lord of the Rings.
After all that.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is actually a really shitty list. It's not IMDb, but I know for a fact they're leaving films out. And what's funny is when I put in Hugo Weaving bank robbery movie, it brings up Reckless Kelly, that Yahoo Serious film. Apparently,
really?
Apparently Hugo Weaving's in that. I never watched it because shit.
Yahoo Serious. Why the fuck was he allowed to be born? Why wasn't he aborted?
Yeah. All right. What do we got? This is the complete thing on IMDb. God, he was Megatron's voice in Transformers. Okay. Oh, was it Last Ride?
Might have been.
Okay, I'm looking up the description of Last Ride. Oh no, he's the dad in that. I saw that movie.
Oh yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah. No, so that's young boy travels across Australia with his father, who's wanted by the law for committing a violent crime.
Yeah, no.
It's not that. Little Fish, Peaches. There we go. Lord of the Rings. After the Deluge. Where are you? Lord of the Rings. Russian Doll. Matrix, True Colors, Babe, Pig in the City. There you go. He's done a lot of voice stuff. Oh, God. This is not what you're talking about, but I've seen this one. A really good film called The Interview, where these cops have him in for an interview because they think he might be a killer. But then
it's horrifying. It's horrifying.
The cops are also under investigation for maybe being dodgy. But yes, The Interview is really good.
It's just spine chilling. Yeah. And when you watch the whole thing, you just go, it's just like, I don't want to go outside. Because the Hugo Weaving gives a smile during it. It's just go, oh my God, that's not an actor. That's a guy who's actually got children in his butt.
Yeah. There's one bit, because it looks like he's being persecuted by the cops. And he just flips. I remember one bit. He just flips while he's talking. Like he goes, "Oh, people always act like killing someone's some big deal. It's no great thing to kill someone." And he's just going like, "Wait, I think everything just changed," because he seemed to be like this innocent guy who's being hassled by these cops, and now he's saying stuff that make me want my mummy. And it's just like
exactly. It was the moment where Jackie Weaver said, "Oh, you've been a bad boy." That was that moment. It was
you've done terrible things, Darl.
Dear. Terrible things, Darl. Terrible.
Which gave her just that late career renaissance. She got cast in heaps of American stuff. Like she probably made more money in the 5 years after Animal Kingdom than in her whole career.
Because everyone said, "Fuck, she's really, really good."
Yeah. If you've never seen the movie, I recommend it. There is a streaming series which I've never watched. I don't know if it's any good. It's also called Animal Kingdom. But the movie, and the bit where she says this thoroughly creepy thing, it's made worse because she loves her sons. And her grandson has showed up. His mother, who was this crime matriarch's daughter, was disowned by the family. And she's ended up dying of a heroin overdose. And so the grandson shows up. And so grandma says she'll look after him. But she loves her sons, kisses them on the lips and stuff. And they're all crims to varying degrees. And she starts to think the grandson might be a weak link and might get her sons in trouble. So when she says this line, she's talking to a cop, a dirty cop, and she's saying, he's a problem and it'll be your problem because he knows stuff. And if that comes out, you've done some terrible things, doll. It's this sweet grandmother saying this weird thing. And she's coercing a cop into murdering her grandson.
That's basically, it's basically how it all runs. And when she says it, it's frightening as is. Yeah. Just as is, it's just frightening. And
it's
then
just
when
cold.
when you put it all together, you go, she's just setting up a murder of her grandson.
Yeah.
That's how much she's a sociopath. She just and she's so into power that she's just basically manipulating these people into doing these. And it's like, the trouble is I know people like this, and that frightens me as well. So, you get that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just she's like fucking creepy.
Hugo Weaving was also V. And one of the reasons he was V was offered to a heap of actors, and they said, I'm not wearing a mask the whole movie.
It's a common problem with stars. They want their face seen.
And Hugo Weaving had just done The Matrix, right? Was a fucking megastar, and they said, you have to be in a mask. And so it's okay, that's the job. I've read the script. I understand he's burnt. He doesn't want to be seen. I get it. Yeah. And they went, you'll do it. He said, fuck, it's a great story. I'll do it.
It's very hard to get a star to do something where you don't see their face. Unless it's great voice acting.
And he just basically went, yep, great, let's go. And they went, fuck, we've just got Hugo Weaving to do our film. Yeah. That just hurts us in no way possible. Yeah. And then because they got him on board, they got Natalie Portman on board, and with those two they got my favourite British poof, Stephen Fry, and they got every English actor they wanted after that. Everyone said, oh, hell yes, I'm coming. And they said to everyone, you've got to be a bad, evil bastard and look horrible. I went, I don't care. I'm doing it. And everyone did a great job. Oh, I love that movie.
Oh, you go. Dr. Abigail didn't realise it was him till the end credits.
Yeah, you don't know. Because he puts on an accent and he does that script, and you have no idea because you never see his face. And then or you see it once when he comes out in the Baptism by Fire.
But he's all burnt up.
But he's all so burnt up, you don't know it's him.
Yeah. Well, I was also very glad Carl Urban never took the helmet off in the Dredd movie, because that was the sad thing. Sylvester Stallone, when he played Judge Dredd, insisted on taking the helmet off. There were much bigger things wrong with that movie, but
that was just a crime against everything. When Urban just decided to be a proper fucking actor and keep the fucking helmet on, I just knew straight away, because the only time you see a little bit of his face is when he's putting the helmet on at the start of the movie. That's it. There is nothing else. And she I can never remember her character name. You see her without a helmet on a lot, actually. Anderson. In the comics, you see her without a helmet on a lot.
Because she says it interferes with psychic powers.
That's right. And she doesn't.
When Dredd says to her, like, "You're not wearing a helmet," she says, "It interferes with my psychic powers." He goes, "So would a bullet."
So would a bullet. Yeah.
And they did have that good pair because he was all the thing, like, because she always looks nervous doing this when they're doing stuff, and a couple of times he goes, "Are you ready?" And she, he goes, "You don't look ready." And then right at the end, when she's killed a couple of people and gonna fuck some shit up, and she's got a machine gun, and Dredd just goes, "Are you ready?" And she says,
"I don't think so." She says, "I don't think so."
No, she doesn't. She does not say that. I've watched that movie 20 times. She says yes.
Right.
She says yes. Dredd goes, "Are you ready?" And she says, "Yeah." And he goes, "You look ready."
You look ready.
And then he's going to go in and kill some motherfuckers.
That is the last time he says it. Is yes, you look ready, and then they go in and fucking lay waste to fucking half of the town. No, sorry, just a building with its nuclear shutters down.
Yeah.
A mega block with its nuclear shutters down. Which, how would you be?
I was like, right at the end when they finally get out and the shutters come up and all the judges are there and the chief judge rocks up and she just says to Dredd, like, "You look like you've been through it. What happened?" And after this huge gang war with hundreds of people dead, Dredd goes, "Drug bust." And the chief judge goes, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, perps were uncooperative."
Yes. Perps were uncooperative.
It's like a couple hundred people killed.
If you think about it, it was a drugs bust and the perps were uncooperative. That's actually what happened.
Yeah.
That's actually what happened. And but then the nice thing is she did fail the mission.
Well,
she did
on a technical thing because she lost a gun. That's an automatic fail.
Gun. Automatic fail. And the boss said, "So is she in?" And he went, "Yeah, she's in." And he was looking at him going, she was looking at him going, "Okay, good." But I thought I was about to be thrown away. Then.
Oh no, she's walked away. She's walked away and she doesn't even hear this. She actually gives Dredd her badge because it's an automatic fail. And the chief judge says, "Is she a pass?" And Dredd goes, "She's a pass." And the chief judge is, "Yeah, I knew she would be." And you just like, you almost think like Dredd wants to, "You don't know shit."
Yeah.
There's so many good one-liners in it. Liam, the guy in the mask in V for Vendetta is Hugo Weaving, is what we're
yes.
Yeah. But it's actually not that long since I rewatched Dredd because it's just fucking awesome.
It is an awesome
it's a crime that I don't know. It was marketed very badly and it didn't do very well because there are other films like, violent sci-fi films that did quite well, and this was somehow just marketed really badly. And
it was.
No one went to see it.
The thing is too that the art in it was just genius. Okay, the Judge Dredd comic books were done with that 4-color process. Okay, to get your color on your page, it was done with that 4-color process. When you see that film, it mimics that 4-color process in every shot. There's like a yellow background or a purple background or a blue scrim, and it was really, really well crafted.
Just the technical execution of that film is really good.
Just amazing.
Beautifully shot. The sets are amazing.
The shot work in it is just spectacular because it was all done from that comic book perspective, which is hard to do, right? If you think about the forced perspective that comic book artists are allowed to get away with, right? Okay, so I've got a camera here in front of me and I can make my hand that big and I
Yeah.
can make my head that big, right?
Yeah.
But I've got to have a reason for it in a film, and I've got to be moving around. But in a comic book, you don't have to be moving around. You can be
because
completely
it's
still,
frozen moments. Yeah.
and then you do lines, and oh look, he's moving so fast because there's lines behind his hand. In every anime you've seen, they've got the German sign on their cheek or forehead because they're distressed. And essentially, comic book artists can get away with a lot, but fucking photographer, film photographers can't because their subjects are moving. But in that
Yeah.
film, they did all of that forced perspective stuff. They did all of the angle stuff really brilliantly. There's a bit where she brings out rotary cannon to
Yes, and takes out a whole floor of the building.
to fuck up some people.
Yeah.
And there was a crane shot. It had to be a crane. Had to be a crane because it's up, sort of in a corner, looking down, and then comes across to see what's going to happen next, and then Dredd goes around a corner. And after saying, "I am the law, you're not the law, I am the law," and she's going, "I'm about to fucking cannon you." Basically, I remember seeing that shot a couple times because I watched the movie myself a few times, and I was watching that shot particularly and going, "How the fuck would you get that to work on a physical level? On a did they do that thing like in Blade Runner? Like move the buildings together? Did they do that thing where they actually had like wonky wonky that
Yeah. Well, that's Lord of the Rings did that with a lot of things to have hobbits and dwarves in the same size as people. It's a lot of forced perspective.
Yeah.
So, like the wagon with Frodo and Gandalf on it is
is
shot. So
actually
that's what
it's
you
actually yeah.
expect a wagon to look like at that angle. But the plank that they're sitting on is not a
It's
plank.
actually
It's really thick at the end that Frodo's sitting on, and thin at the end where Gandalf's sitting.
and is and on an angle. It's on an angle
Yeah,
looking at
and
you.
it's on an angle. So yes, Dr. Abigail, we are mentioning Lord of the Rings again. I think I've got, speaking of Lord of the Rings, I think I've got an episode or two of the fanfic to watch. I think they're building up to some big war set pieces now. So Can giving you a hard time. All right. Well, it's also
This is my non-drippy bottle, for when I'm.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah, and
Non-spill. I like
it's
it.
just about buggered. I've got to get the other one out.
Yeah.
This one has given me 2 years of good service, but as you can see, it's taped.
Yes.
So
Farewell, noble soldier. Yeah. All right. Anyway, it's basically bedtime now.
just about, isn't it?
And we've both got to get up early.
I might just not go to sleep. I do that.
Oh God.
I'm watching that first version of Evangelion again, and it's just about to get into the bit where he got insane and went into the asylum, and it got really crazy. I love that bit.
I watched part of the series because it's on Netflix, and I thought I never watched the whole thing, and I've watched some of it, and they've got movies as well, and I keep thinking I'll watch it one day. I haven't yet.
Watch the movies first, right?
Right.
The second they say Evangelion something 2, right? Watch them first because they make more sense, and then watch the 26 episode series second, because you'll have no fucking idea what's going on. If you don't watch the movies, you won't have any idea.
Half of them. It makes sense to me. But anyway, I'm going to go to bed, not start a new conversation. So fare thee well, lovely people. Maybe see you during the week sometime. I may or may not do a Tuesday stream. Who knows? Anything could
Who
happen.
can tell these crazy things? Who
It
can
is
tell these
crazy
crazy
times.
things?
It is crazy times. So I won't commit to anything. Sometime during the week, I'll be back. So you all take care.